Hello everybody. In this video I'm going to show you auto center pivot rigging system. For doing that I am going to create a simple lower party character, a simple joint chain. I start with a root joint and then I draw a leg chain, then simply I parent it to the root, and also I'm going to mirror the joint in a YZ plane and mirror it. Here it is. It's a simple leg chain for both right and left side. Now I'm going to add some IK handle, one for right hand side and another for the left hand side. Also we need some controller, and I'm going to use NURB circle. In window hypergraph, I'm going to select the controller, the NURB circle, and group it in itself to making a op node. I select the op node, the group, and I press the V on keyboard and snap it to the joint. By doing that, as you see, the controller is clean. There is no value on it. For the other side, I take the group, the op node, and duplicate it. Again, select the group itself and snap it to the left hand side like this. And I scale it a bit larger and reshape it, the controller, not the upper ones, and then I phrase transformation the controller. They are clean. We should rename the controller. In rigging process, renaming the controller and the nodes, they are really important. Otherwise, you may simply lost in scene. And because of that, I rename the controller, and also I rename the op nodes. I add the same name with a grp suffix. Same for the right side. The same process for the upper node, grp suffix at the end of it. Now we should have some controller for root. I use again a NURB circle, group it itself, and select the group and snap it to the root joint. Again, I select the controller itself and I'm going to scale it a bit larger, and then phrase transformation. Also, we should rename it, give it a proper name. something like root control and the same name to the upper group with a grp suffix. Here we should add another upper controller, upper group. For doing that, I'm going to select the root controller itself and group it by itself. Now, as you see, we got root controller and the group, the up one, they are both clean, no value on it. We are going to use this group for auto center pivot, and I'm going to rename this one to something like this, root up control. It's almost there. We should parent the IK handles, but before doing that, we need to rename them. In this case, I rename IK handle left and right. Then we can simply parent each of them to corresponding controller. Now, if I take a controller and move it around, it acts like this. It's okay, it's fine. The root controller doesn't connect yet. I'm going to select the first I should select the root controller, then select the root joint, and in constraint I use parent constraint. Now it's connect. I can move root, it works fine, and also the legs works fine. This is simple lower part of a character with a IK handle on it. Then we can just hide IK handles. We don't need them anymore. And I check the controllers. They works fine. Now it's time to add our auto center pivot system. If you notice, when I move character towards the Z value, the translate Z changes. So we should add translate Z for foot left and right here in node editor. I'm going to add them here. Here in node editor, we are going to add, take a average value, average translate of both left and right foot control, and average them and put that value to root up control. For doing that, I expand the both controllers, and for averaging the translate Z, I need a node called plus minus average. I need to connect translate Z to input 1, and the right side of the leg also we need connected translate Z to input 2, and the output value of plus minus average should connect to translate z of root op controller. And I should change the operation from sum to average. Now, as you see, when I move controllers toward z-axis, the root controllers, the root joints average between two controller, and it works fine. But it's not enough. If you notice, when I move the leg in z-axis, the root controllers stay in a linear line, but I don't wanna. I wanna it moves down. When I move the one leg, I wanna the root moves a bit down. For doing that, I'm going to create a measure distance tool. I hold V again to snap it to joint, and another one, I also snap it to another joint. Now we got our distance dimension node here, and we should parent the locator to controller, parent it to corresponding controller. Now, as you see, when I move controller, the value, the distance value change. We are going to use that value. For doing that, I should bring the distance dimension node here in node editor. We should connect it to our root op control. But our root op control, the translate y, got a value of 0. If we directly connect the distance dimension to that value, it doesn't work because it got some value. It's 8. For solving that problem, we need some multiply divide node here, and I'm going to add distance to input x, and right now the operation is multiply, the input is 8. If I put 8 to input 2 and divide it, 8 divided by 8 equals to 1. But 1 itself doesn't work because, as you remember, the root op controller translate y, it's 0. We need 0, not 1. If I connect it to that node, as you see, it moves 1 unit up, and it's not fine. Here is the value, it's 1, it should be 0. For doing that, it's simple. I disconnect the value, I put a 0 there. Now it's default position. I use another plus minus average node. Here I'm going to add output x to input 1, and also we need multiply divides maybe output y value, which is 1. I put it to the input 2. Here the output y is 0. I put it 1 there, and when you divide 1 to 1, it's equal to 1 again, but we should go and change the plus minus average operation from sum to subtract. Now, if we connect the output to translate y, as you see, we got 0 there. It's fine. And as you see, it's in a default position. But if I take and move it forward, as you see, it acts, but it got some positive value on it, and it's go upward. See, it's got some positive value here. We need some negative value. We should reverse that effect. Reversing that effect is not really difficult. We need just put some multiply divide node, and we should connect that plus minus average node output to input x here, and then the output x should connect to translate y. The operation of the multiply divide should set to multiply, and the input 2 should be negative value, something like -1. Now the effect is reversed, and we got our auto center pivot rigging works in a good manner. There is no problem. As you see, it works fine. No problem. I test all of the controller. It works fine. But maybe animators, they want these effects, they want to turn it off or on. We should have some attribute allowing them to changing the auto system on or off. For doing that, I'm going to add some attribute to this controller from edit, add attribute. I name it something like auto center. The name itself is not really important. I set it to the data type to Boolean. Okay. Now we got a value, the attribute here called auto center. By default it is off. I'm going to add that controller in our node editor. Here I am going to connect auto center attribute to a multiply divide node. For turning the effect on and off, we need some multiply and divide node here. And I'm going to add auto center to input x, and the input 2 should be this one, should be connected to input 2. and the output should goes to translate Y, and we also need to connect auto center to input Y, and the output of plus minus average should comes to and connect to input Y, and then output Y should go and connect to translate Z. Now it should works. Now it's off. There is no effect. But when we turn it on, now it's auto center pivot. It works fine. No problem, as you see. You can turn it off or on, and it works fine. But as you notice, when you move the foot controllers, the root joints has some subtle effect. As you see, when I move it forward, it has some subtle effect, but maybe you need some more. It's simple. You can go and find the multiply divide node, which we reverse some value. Right now it's -1. You can put, I don't know, -2 or 3. It's up to you. And at this case, the -3 works much better. It's fine, as you see. But you can always go and play with that number and got some proper value for your rig. The overall idea is that, and you can achieve this effect by, I don't know, by writing some expressions, but the node, they are much reliable and faster, and I recommend to use node instead of expressions. Thank you for watching, and here you go.